Welcome back, Shalligators. Today we're talking about a celeb we don't normally touch on here because I don't really care. But given the messiness of her love life, we gotta touch on it. CHRISTINA El Moussa, nay CHRISTINA HAACK, host of Flip or Flop, and her own show, Christina on the Coast, because she's got that deep voice and a little lisp, Christina on the Coast. She's an HGTV or whatever star about home flipping, blah, 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 something about backsplashes. I don't fucking care. What I do care about is that she is engaged and about to get married for the third time at 38. Third marriage, 38 years old. Is there something we can learn here? Perhaps something about not rushing in, about how to know when love is right? Correct. Because I know a lot of us, especially after we've gotten out of a major relationship or had a big heartbreak, it can be tempting to just kind of start over. And instead of cleaning up your emotional house and sitting with yourself and being, solid and single for a while, to just start over, jump and monkey vine into a new relationship. Does that work? Well, CHRISTINA is kind of seeming to be proof that no, it doesn't. I'm going to break down what's going on behind the scenes with her because we've got some information, but also how we can avoid rushing in. How can we learn to be a little bit happier single, and just some simple exercises, even like with our own body, that can take us out of that mania and avoid being divorced 3 times before we turn 40, which something tells me CHRISTINA will be. But before we get started, just want to remind you, if you have a one-on-one question, you need some help from me, want to chit chat, submit a question, go to my website, shallonlester.com, and click submit a question. You can also find me on Cameo if you want a video shout out, either a question answered for yourself or a pep talk for a friend, a birthday wish, anything like that. And be sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram Reels. I'm ShallonXO on both platforms, where I'm posting kind of little short form content. I actually did a TikTok about CHRISTINA's ex, CHRISTINA El Moussa, and his wedding shower with his fiance, who looks almost exactly like CHRISTINA. Her name is Heather Ray Young. I think she's on Selling Sunset. And they're like weird ass, like cauliflower goth themed wedding shower. It was just so incredibly weird. And, we're going to talk about how that's informing CHRISTINA's decisions. So let's get into it. So CHRISTINA, yes, is the host of Flip or Flop, which seems to be also the vibe of her romantic relationship. She's flipping out one husband, that flop, she's flipping into a new one. She was married to CHRISTINA El Moussa, her co-host on Flip or Flop, who looks, those ears, can you hear me from here? I just don't know. They were married from 2007 to 2018. And she got married again in 2018. So the year she divorced her husband, with whom she has 2 kids, it was an incredibly messy divorce. Like, the cops were called, he was waving a gun and blah, 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 and all these accusations. It was not like, we're best friends and we've decided to just part. No, it was not this conscious uncoupling. It was a messy fucking fiasco. Don't worry, later that year, not even met someone that year, which would be fast enough, got married that year to this dude, Ant Anstead. It's one time when I was 16, my mother wanted to see her gynecologist. His name was Dr. Howard. I was like, I am not letting someone who has a name like that from that gene pool rifle around my cash and prizes. Nice fucking try. And I feel like Ant Anstead is pretty darn close. No. But yeah, she married Ant, this British dude, and divorced him in 2021. It is still currently 2021, and she is engaged to man number 3, an Austin-based realtor named Joshua Hall. I think the better way to introduce him is brother to legend Stacy the bartender from The Hills, because that's his sister. Okay. And his other sister's like a Playboy model. So, do they like the limelight? They might. How interesting. This is a picture of this dude. Let's unpack this picture because I find it to be super red flaggy. Number one, his shirt is buttoned up way too high. Way too high. I don't like this at all. I don't trust people. Second of all, he has this weird farmer's tan. He has a hat tan. Like, his lower half of his face is tan. His forehead is white. That tells me he wears a flat brim cap all the time. What kind of professional man wears a hat like that all the time to get this level of farmer tan on his face? But yet you're a realtor? Kind of seems like you're a lifeguard. That's the only kind of people I've seen with that, okay? Also, I have never been wrong about this. The red flag of body language is a woman who puts her arm over a man's shoulder. It's very emasculating. It's like, hey, buddy. It's like a man has his arm over us, okay? That is the man-woman dynamic. I don't know if she's taller than him. She's not, because there's like pictures and he's like taller than her. He's not a bad-looking guy. He kind of looks like a Brody Jenner type, but this man is no Brody Jenner. He seems like fine. I don't know. Maybe that tan was fresh because they were just in Mexico. But also, does that tell me you don't understand how to use sunblock? I can't have someone like that in my life. And so, yeah, she's engaged. Husband number 3 before she's 40. And her last 2 husbands, she's had babies with. I'm sorry, dude. Like, have as many husbands as you want. Maybe don't have kids until like you really know that this has like solid footing. Because if you think about a divorce, like look at her last husband, Aunt Anstead, Dr. Howard. You meet and you get married the same year you meet, okay? So how well could you possibly know someone? And then people don't file for divorce the very first fight they have. You know, you really kind of at the outside, you're giving it a solid year, like a good year that you're like, we're trying, I don't want to admit this, it's embarrassing, So they were only married 3 years, less than 3 years, like 2.5 years. Half of that 1 year was probably wedding planning. The other year was fighting and trying to make it work. So you have maybe one good year. That's not a great return on investment, man. And that's at the best. That's at the absolute outside of how good that's going to be. So no, I don't think this is going to last. I think this is a catastrophic mistake. And you know what? Do you know what the best predictor of future behavior is? Past behavior. So she confirmed in July that she was in a new relationship, and she celebrated her 30th birthday with a getaway to Mexico. But then she revealed that they'd actually been dating for several months. And she said, when we met this past spring, was her divorce even final? The synchronicities hit us so hard and fast, they were impossible to ignore. Okay, it's natural when you get out of something like a divorce and you just feel so far apart from this person you thought you knew and now they're basically a stranger, to want someone who seems like your mirror image. Oh my God, we're just so alike. But that's not always what we need. Like, I don't want to date my mirror image. God, horrible. What I need is someone who grounds me a little bit. Someone who understands me. There's that Venn overlap. But very rarely are we truly the most compatible with someone who is our exact carbon copy. You know? You don't add salt to salt. You got to have a balance. Anyway. I felt immediately crazy protective over him. Oh, she's saying this, over him. And wanted to keep him from myself, okay, and get to know each other before the tornado of media attention hit. We had a few solid months of us just getting to know each other, and I've loved every second of it. Wow, a few months? No way this marriage could go wrong. I mean, a few months? You know who you spent a few months with? Your bunkmate at summer camp. Did you marry her? No. No, you didn't. You probably don't even talk after camp. And this is just so interesting. And it speaks to quite a bit of what I believe is sort of delusional narcissism. The tornado of media attention. Honey, people are not trailing you around. You're not Kylie Jenner. You live in Newport. That's my hometown. We live a stone's throw from each other, actually. Never in my life have I seen paparazzi in Newport Beach. Never. Literally never. So nothing is getting out if you don't want it to get out. Like if you're not sharing it and exposing it and calling the pops and posting on Insta, like no one would fucking know. God knows no one's tracking this dude in Austin or, you know, with his bartender sister. So like, honey, you're protecting a man from this thing that you yourself are creating. Okay. And I don't know, just a few months to get to know each other. And she calls him her ride or die. Girl, it might be the latter financially if you don't. Her ex, aunt, my mom is like super into this couple, like Tarek and Christina, because she watches all these house shows, and she was like Googling Aunt Ansick. She's like, who is this guy? She's like, Shallon, do you know what his net worth is? I'm like, what? Like $20 million? She's like, $100,000. I mean, I guarantee you're worth more than that. Like and he's a TV host. Like, what have you been doing with your money? Do you not own any property? Like, do you want one of mine? It's just crazy. So of course this man is like, I love you. You're the love of my life. I like cars. Wait, you can buy me cars? Blimey. Like, Christina, wake the fuck up. And it's like, I'm sure she has this vibe of like, but he loves me. No shit, he loves you. You're fantastic. What are you doing, girl? You built this real estate empire and you're fucking it all up, frittering away like child support and alimony on these deadbeat ass dudes. Girl, it just blows my mind. It blows my mind that people get married more than once. It honestly does. I've been married. I've been divorced. I do not want to get married again. I don't want to roam the earth alone like the Incredible Hulk. Like, I want to have a partner. Married, though? No. And when I got divorced, I wasn't famous. We didn't have all these houses. We didn't have any kids. I mean, we were just two people in an apartment in New York. We split things up. It was like as simple as it possibly could be. And yet I'm like, I never want to do that again. I never want to do that again. I don't even need to live with the guy. You want to live down the street from me? I will allow you to come over to my house and we will be together. But like, I just, after you go through a huge messy divorce like she did with Tarek, and to get married that same year. Like we said, Tarek himself is engaged. He hasn't gotten married yet. I mean, she's gonna have gone through two husbands by the time he walks down the aisle. Like, just pump the brakes, Chrissy. But he's in this incredibly over-the-top and public and demonstrative and icky relationship with Heather Rae Young. I mean, maybe they're in love. Great, I hope they are. She looks almost exactly like Christina. Granted, everyone in Newport Beach, California, my hometown, does look like Christina. I mean, we are all basically just sort of fudged versions of each other. So, okay, whatever. So that's maybe not a relevant data point. But Tarek is just so over the top with this thing with Heather Rae Young. And I feel like Christina, I feel like this is competition. Like, when I posted that TikTok about Tarek and Heather's wedding shower, goth cauliflower. I'm saying goth cauliflower. You're hearing me right. You're hearing me right. Just go to my TikTok. You'll understand what I mean. And so many of you guys were like, this is so public because he's just trying to stick it to Christina because she just got divorced. You know, he's just trying to fuck her over and ramp up this, I'm so happy, I'm going to be married, you divorced. Because he's a spiteful motherfucker. Like, he's a mean guy. He just seems mean and controlling, and just the things he says about her and to her, and like yells at her on set and calls her a washed up loser. Like, bitch, that's the mother of your children. Put some respect in your mouth, monkey or doof. He always looks like he needs chapstick. Very ruddy. I don't like ruddy people. Put some foundation on if you need to. Anyway. So I think this is her being like, aha! I'm going to stick it to my ex. Now listen. Who among us can't relate to that, right? I feel like we just did a video on this. Like, what to do. We did. What to do when your ex moves on, but you haven't. And you're like, and there's this need. It's like, well, I'm just going to hire someone. I'm going to fucking hire somebody. I don't care. The thought has crossed all of our mind, right? If only there was like rent a boyfriend, not an escort, but like, no, like rent a boyfriend for Instagram. Like, you bring 8 changes of clothes. We're going to take 1 million pictures so it looks like it's spread out over 8 weeks. Like, I cannot feel like I've lost. So I want you to go back to that video because we talk about how to reconcile those feelings, like, and how it's not a loss, and actually how the person who moves on the quickest is the one who's not over it. And so Christina moving on quickly from Ant, and she moved on quickly from Tarek. It's like, now I don't think you're over either one of these dudes. Like, you're just wallpapering. And we talk about wallpapering a lot. Like, to take off actual wallpaper, like off the wall, is very arduous. It's annoying. You have to scrape it. And a lot of people, if they're being cheap and lazy, they're like, fuck it, we'll just put new shit over there. I don't even take the previous off. And it gets lumpy, and you can tell that there's something under there, and it never looks quite right. And emotionally, we can be the same way. Fuck it. I don't even want to deal with this divorce. I don't want to deal with this heartbreak. Wait, you love me? It's tempting because our ego kicks in and we tell ourselves maybe it's our heart, but it isn't. It really is our ego. And it's not our heart missing our ex. It's not even our heart falling in love with someone new. It's our ego. The heart actually mends quite quickly. The heart's a very elastic kind of thing, you know? The heart wants to love. We want to love, and we want to trust, and we want to do all these things over and over again. The brain also gets you over something quickly. We're logic-based. We default to logic. You know what? If that's the kind of guy he is, that he can fall in love in 2 months, he's not the right kind of guy for me. I've seen that he's violent and annoying and has those weird chapped lips. And so she's his problem now. No, he's her problem now. Whatever. It's the ego that never forgets. It's the ego, aka our sense of identity, our sense of place in the world, how we feel about ourselves as contrasted with how the world sees us, that won't let go. I can't have everyone thinking I'm just this jilted, lonely spinster, this dumb single mom that no one loves, while he's off walking down the aisle again. So I'm going to go get a man of my own. That's the ego talking. That's the ego. That's not the heart. God knows it's not the brain. The brain's like, you just fucking did this. Don't fucking do this again. Don't do this again. You're still paying your lawyers. You shouldn't be drafting alimony and a prenup at the same time. You shouldn't be doing this. But your ego's like, shh, 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 shh. I got it. And ego walks hand in hand with fear. Your fear brain is the thing that is informing your bad and rash decisions. So I want to talk about how to stop rushing in, how to stop making these foolish decisions, and how to know when something is right and when it's not. Because you know what? The heart doesn't really have a timeline. The ego might. The heart might be receptive to meeting someone. And you know, sometimes by the time you get out of a long-term relationship, you're fucking done. I think we all know what it's like to obsess and miss and fawn and blah, blah, blah over someone who you didn't actually date because they live in myth. It all lives in possibility. I've moved on the fastest from my longest relationships. And that's because I had all this data. I'm like, I know, it's just not working. And I'm just really over it. And I've tried and they've tried, and it's just not going to happen, you know? And so a lot of times I would hit the ground running. Not like I got a full on serious boyfriend after, but I was out and about, I was dating, I was getting laid. I'm like, no, I'm okay. Sometimes, not always. But I just have trouble believing that's actually what's going on with Christina. Again, this feels like gamesmanship, and it feels moreover like she cannot be alone. And what is that? That is the ego, and that is the fear getting together. How is that ego? Because again, it goes back to how I feel about myself and how the world sees me. They're not lining up. I'm going to look lonely, pathetic, unlovable. I can't look like that. I have to have someone in my life to prove that I can. And it's also fear, like you cannot be alone because what the world is going to assume about you, pathetic, lonely spinster. Well, girl, that's true. You are actually all of those things, unless you have a guy, in which case, oh my God, your life is fantastic. Now, again, this is so crazy to think about in conjunction with Christina because, like, if a woman like that, multi-millionaire, beautiful house in Newport Coast, 3 beautiful kids, 6-pack, thriving career, like, if you don't feel worthy enough, if you don't feel whole enough and self-actualized and like bad bitchy on your own, what? In a way, it sets a very bad example for the rest of us, you know? But it also speaks to how prevalent that fear is for women. That you do need a man. So how do we not pull a Christina? Because like we said, it's very tempting. It's tempting to just want to pave over that heartbreak, you know? Because when we meet someone right after we have a bad heartbreak, we kind of get the feeling that it's this like bullet that we dodge. Oh, it's a get out of heartbreak free card. Oh my God, I didn't even have to process that divorce. Look, I've met someone new. And it's like, I'm just unbroken and everything's washed away. Blah. Honey, nobody gets out alive. Because yeah, essentially what that rebound relationship is the emotional getaway car. Take me away from this. This building's on fire. Get me the fuck out of here. I don't want to deal with this. Let it burn. I'm not going back to clean anything up. But then whoops, the car makes a U-turn and back you go. So the way to do this is to stay present. I have a feeling that if you chronically rush into relationships, you rush into all sorts of things. You rush in, you rush out, you rush through life. There is probably a lack of mindfulness and presence and stillness everywhere in your life. Oh, great. Well, thank you, Shallon. Now I feel like my entire life is on fire. It's not. I mean, it actually probably is. But The good news is, if you work on one category, it has a trickle-down effect. And here's how you start. You just breathe. Try it. I want you guys, we used to do this on the podcast. Podcasts come back soon, don't worry. It was on a little summer break. Roll your shoulders back. Just, when we're in a state of fight or flight, you know, that like animal thing, even if you look at actual animals, look at your dog next time, he's like, you know, they're like hyperventilating. That's a warrior mode. Your breathing is very shallow. And so your brain is kind of starving for oxygen, that really like deep cleansing breaths to get the bad oxygen out, the good oxygen. If you've ever taken a yoga class, they talk about this. And so when you don't have enough oxygen, how do you think your brain is functioning? Well, no. Look at how you act when you're hangry, when you're dehydrated, when you're tired. It's the same thing when you don't have a lot of oxygen. And this sounds so dumb. It's like, wait a minute. So I can avoid getting divorced 3 times before I'm 40 if I just breathe? Yeah. Can you believe that? Can you believe it's that simple? Because if you can just stop and pause and give your brain what it needs to do its job, because remember, the heart is elastic, the heart mends. The brain can also do that. It has the tools to come up with the logic to get you out of cognitive dissonance, aka emotionally painful situations. It wants to. It doesn't want to stay there. But if you're starving it of the thing that it needs, it's like, fuck, I don't care. Just do whatever. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to feel brokenhearted. I don't want to feel alone and spinstery. You think that dude's going to fix it? Fine, man. I don't know. I'm not even functioning. I'm like on 2 cylinders here. But if you can create some stillness in your life by breathing, and then pausing and being like, okay, this pausing actually, this is helpful. This is good. I feel better. I don't feel so like anxious and panicky. Suddenly like some answers are coming to me because my brain is getting the food it needs. You know, maybe I won't go out tonight. Maybe I'm just going to like hang out in bed, watch my Downton Abbey, read, clean my kitchen. Okay. I'm going to want to find this kind of stillness, this breath stillness, in other situations in my life. I'm going to keep my house cleaner. I'm going to take better care of myself physically. I'm going to do my masks, my Olaplex. And then I'm going to create a life that is centered around presence and stillness. And that is going to create a life I want to be in. I'm not rushing through my house. I hate this house. I don't want to be in this house. It's so fucking dirty. No, when my house is clean, I want to be in it. I like hanging out at home. When I feel physically good, I'm cool. I'm not avoiding mirrors and rushing around my life and panic eating and drinking. No. And that's going to trickle down to your relationships. You are going to create a life of stillness, dignity, and sanity so that when someone or some situation comes along or some thought comes along that's panicked, rushed, and fear-based, it's not going to make any sense. It's not going to feel natural. Let's go back to this house metaphor. When my house is clean, I am suddenly very aware of who my messy friends are, right? If I've spent 2 days cleaning my house and it's perfect, and my messiest, drunk, rampage friend comes over and is like tearing through my cabinets and stuff, I'm like, I don't want you here. You're messing up a thing that I like. But when I'm in that chaos state, I had a very like party hardy summer. Oh, my messy friend came and stayed for 5 days. I was like, this is so fun. Whatever, who cares? It's just one more handful of popcorn on the floor, more ice scattered everywhere. Like, who fucking cares? Because that was the norm. And something chaotic didn't feel chaotic. It felt normal. It was actually comfortable. But when I reset, it was like, no, I'm resetting my life. I'm getting my life in order. And I'm starting with something as simple as taking a deep breath. Suddenly, chaotic things don't feel good. And suddenly, I don't care how it looks to the rest of the world. Oh, Shallon's staying in more. Yeah, I'm staying in more because I like being inside, because I like where I live. I like the space. I like the stillness. I like my breath. Does this seem like it's getting off topic? It's not. You stop focusing on the ego. People are going to think that I'm pathetic. It doesn't matter what people think because you're now feeling something that completely outweighs the opinion of others. Well, the fear brain comes in. You're never going to find anyone if you don't get out there, and you're going to die alone and no one's going to love you. That suddenly seems like a crazy thought. No one's going to love me. No one's going to love the fact that I honor myself and I wait to sleep with someone. I wait to get into a relationship. I wait to get married. I don't want that person in my life. Someone who only wants me to rush is not here for the right reasons, right? They're here for a good time, not a long time. Look at fuckboys. What do we always say about fuckboys? They're not a fireplace. They're a firework. Quality guy's a fireplace. What's the difference? Firework, flash, bang, boo. But you get too close and they burn you. So look around your life and ask yourself, are you a firework or a fireplace? I've been a firework a lot in my life. I've had many, many firework seasons. I was one this summer, I was in a firework season and I was like, okay with that. I wasn't looking for anything better. I was in my fuck girl phase. We did all of Evil Week on that. But now it's like, no, I want a fireplace. And so therefore I am going to be the change in the world I want to see, as the saying goes. So the way we stop rushing in is to create a fireplace environment in our own life. We also have to acknowledge that wisdom, what does wisdom actually mean? Wisdom means you pay attention to consequences and you learn from examples. I mean, think about it. Isn't that what wisdom is? Wisdom is the inverse of rushing in. When you think about a child, children are reckless, right? You as an adult, you don't eat frosting for dinner. Why? Because it's going to make you fat and it's going to make you nauseous. So that's why you don't do it. Kids don't know that. And they're like, ah. So the only difference between a child and an adult is an adult understands consequences. Adults have that wisdom of knowing, hey, here's what happens in the past when you do that. So I'm going to avoid doing that in the future. And when we rush in, we are reverting to a toddler state where we act like we don't understand the consequences. Don't we? Even toddlers kind of do. They're going to touch that stove once, but unless they're real dumb, they're not going to touch it again when it's hot. Yeah, they might eat frosting for dinner once and they're going to be up all night barfing and their mom's furious. They're probably not going to do it very many more times. Even a toddler can learn from their own mistakes. Can you? Look at your patterns. Do you chronically rush in? Okay, it's not because you're dumber than a toddler. It's not. It's because you're letting the ego and the fear brain run the fucking show. I read a quote the other day from Stoic philosophy, and it said something like, it's not like people overthink their decisions. They don't think about them at all. And man, isn't that true? We aren't using our brain. We're using our ego and our fear. That's not our brain. That's not our brain. What do we say about the fear brain versus the intuitive brain, which is like our actual brain, our heart, and those two working together to be like, hey, we know what's best for you. I've checked in with heart. And she's like, oh, she's not going to like that. And heart's like, I checked in with brain. And he's like, that's going to be kind of a bad idea. And here's the solution we've come up with. No. Fear versus intuition sound completely different. Fear, we say, is like who? Snooky. Just this screeching, panicky little shrimpy thing, howling inside you. You have to do this. No one's going to like you. An intuitive brain? It's like Michelle Obama. It's like Morgan Freeman. It's quiet and it's small and it's not shrieking for your attention. It's simply just saying it. Don't do that. Don't get in that car with him. You actually don't need to give him a hand job. No, you're not going to do that report for that chick at work who's really mean to you. No, we're not doing that. And what do we listen to more? Unfortunately, a lot of time we listen to fear. Fear's louder. But again, when you can create that stillness, sometimes just by breathing, you give yourself that silence to hear your intuition because it's there. And when things go wrong, I'm sure, and this is what's so tragic about Christina. It's like, I wish you'd watch this video. I bet I could help her. I don't know that she's given her that space in that silence. And okay, you can say like, hey, my life's busy. Like I'm a mom, I'm running an empire and blah, blah, blah. Bitch, we're all fucking busy. Do you think Michelle Obama isn't busy? Do you think she's ruled by her fear brain? No. Okay. Do you think Snooki is that busy? No. And she seems like she's ruled by this panicky little monstery thing. Maybe not now, but for a very long time, yeah. So don't make excuses for why you can't carve out a few minutes a day to listen to yourself and check in with yourself. Because otherwise you think, oh, I'm running my life. I have to do this. I have to run my kids and run my business. You're actually not running anything. It goes back to that Stoic philosophy quote. Your mind is running you. Your brain is running you. Your fear, your ego, they're in control. You're just this vehicle. You're a passenger in your own life. You're brave enough and strong enough to handle whatever it is your psyche is saying to you. Because look, you obviously think you're brave enough and strong enough to handle another fucking divorce or a breakup. Why wouldn't you use that energy to do something really positive for yourself? So that maybe you're using your energy for building something better.